Muses, welcome to CosmoMuse Tarot. Today's reading, we are going to get a message from your future self 3 years from now. I wanted to pick a timeline that was enough into the future that, you know, a lot could change, but not so far that it would feel like something that's hard to connect with or resonate with, you know, that kind of thing. So, just before we get into pile selection, I want to go over sort of the overlay of what we're going to look at. So I'm going to be getting a couple of oracle cards that will show a general feel for where you're at, what life feels like to you. And then we're going to get a few oracle cards that represent things that future self would want your current self to know right now that might be helpful, useful, comforting, whatever, you know, comes up. We'll see how that lands. And then we're going to look at where you are at in both your heroine's journey and your hero's journey. We're always going through cycles of both of those. There's patterns in astrology that can show where we are in those kinds of cycles, and it's not like we're doing the same cycle over and over again. It's like different aspects of us step forward, and then we have to go on the journey to kind of develop that part of ourselves. So the heroine's journey has a lot to do with always establishing and understanding our autonomy. So really understanding our inner values, our inner boundaries, our, that we have a voice and we have a say. And then the hero's journey is about individuation, sort of who are we distinctly in the world. So they're kind of inner journeys and outer journeys, inward facing, outward facing self. So what's going on in those kind of journeys may also give a feel for like what life might feel like in 3 years that may be a little different from right now. And then we're going to get a little bit more specific, and we are going to look at the 4 cardinal astrological categories of life, which is your sense of self. So what's your energy like? What's motivating you? What's driving you? And then we're going to look at your foundations, how you're feeling secure and stable in life. So that can relate to home and family. And then we will look at relationships and love. And then we will look at career. And then to end, I'm going to get a message from body, mind, and spirit to see where those things are at for you. So a pretty, big scope going from general into more and more specific things. Okay, so I'm going to use the Lightworker Fierce Love Oracle to create the 4 different piles to choose from. Ooh, so we've got, 2 kind of came out here. So we've got Divine Beauty. We've got Karmic Clearing. All right, let's get 2 more. Oh, these are a little hard to handle lengthwise, so maybe this will go better. Well, this one wants to come out for sure. Paradigm Shift. And one more. Master Hilarion. Okay, so pause the camera if you need, tune into these 4 piles and ask your future self for guidance on which pile it wants to speak to you from. Once you have connected with your pile, timestamps will be in descriptions, and I will see you in your reading. Hello, Pile 1. Welcome to your reading where your future self is going to give you a message about 3 years from now in your life. What is going on? What should you know? What can it bring you information about? So you picked the Divine Beauty card, and this is giving kind of a general landscape of things, of how life is feeling in like the base tone. And this is indicating that, your future self is saying that you have gone through a lot of deep work over the past 3 years of really going inward, spending time with aspects of yourself that you have maybe locked away because you've deemed those aspects of yourself not acceptable, ugly, not in appearance, but like in essence, or just rough around the edges, or whatever that means to you. But over the past 3 years, or over the next 3 years, your future self is saying that you're going to do a lot of work of spending some time with those aspects of yourself and falling in love with those aspects of yourself. Hence, seeing the reality of those aspects of yourself rather than projections and sort of old programming. It could be maybe like, this is just an example that may not be anyone's exact example, but say you were a little bit hyperactive as a child, and that created some issues, like maybe there were certain kids that didn't understand you and sort of teased you because of that, and your parents were really hard on you because of that, and so you kind of stuffed this side of you down that really needed to be able to explore life in a really free, feeling like a butterfly in life. But because of your experiences as a child, you saw that as like really negative and not something to be proud of. But in actuality, it's like part of your creativity. And something is coming along that is pushing you inward to face that part of you kind of stuffed away, that's a little more, and again, I'm just speaking as one example that probably isn't yours, but a metaphor, and to really see this part of yourself that's a little bit excitable and a little hyperactive, and starting to see that that's the thing that helps you to explore life in the way you're supposed to be, the way you should be exploring life for your essence. And having locked that away, it's like you've lost out on being really curious and joyfully engaged in a natural curiosity that's part of your essence. And you've really trained yourself to be this very serious, focused person, but maybe that's not exactly your essence, maybe a good trait to develop, but it's like, but at the expense of disowning this more curious, active aspect of you, that created maybe some issues that you over the next 3 years are going to be going inward, refacing aspects of yourself that you have locked away and re-falling in love with them and seeing them for what they really are versus what you projected they were or what you were told they were. And so creating this new relationship and new integration. And so at the 3-year point, it's like you've done this. And now as you come back out as like a more integrally whole self, you're exploring a new sense of balance and harmony and rhythm in your life. Because you've sort of let out this natural essence that's been locked away. It's like you have to understand what beauty and harmony and your rhythms feel like, how to move life through you, how to shape and design your life through this new aspect of yourself that you have grown to love. And it speaks a lot about self-love too. And when you are loving yourself more, you start to see others as more real and more whole and in a more loving way as well. So that will be a really beautiful thing to be experiencing 3 years from now too, is like really, really seeing people generally in a more beautiful light and in a more real light. Okay, gorgeous. We're gonna get a Wild Unknown archetype card to add to some context here. The Nectar, which is so funny because that really does connect to the example I just used. That might be literal for some of you. There might be a side of you that is sort of like a butterfly, sort of that spring birds and bees and flowers and expressiveness, but maybe it was sort of mirrored to you that wasn't serious, that wasn't like a quality that would get you anywhere in life, or a quality to be proud of. For others, it may just be some aspect of yourself that is, maybe sweet and kind and a little bit loving, but you were kind of programmed to be more discerning and questioning and critical. Like it wasn't, maybe something was communicated, or maybe you had experiences where just like being naturally open and accepting without sort of putting people through their paces, which there's something to be said for that. But if it's natural to you to just have this open heart, it can really damage the psyche to have to close the heart for some reason. This was what it feels like. There was something that it's like something in you that has like a more loving, light, expressive essence. And like a flower, it has so much beauty in it, but something happened where you felt the need to close that flower and stuff it down, to be less open, less naive. But maybe a little bit of naivety is part of your charm and part of your essence and part of what actually does make your life flourish, even if it can invite a little trouble here and there. It's actually still something that is foundational for you and really brings also thriving. So something is coming up about that. This something about the nectar quality, a spring-like quality, a sweetness, a curiosity, a lightness, a kind of dilettante type, multi-hyphenate. And that for some of you, it could be that like you have naturally a lot of interests and would do better being a jack of all trades, but life and society are like, no, you pick one thing and you become an expert in that one thing, and like something got into your mindset about that. So that could be for some of you that you need to allow yourself to be more of a jack of all trades and see where there's a need for that and a beauty in that. And as, if that's part of your natural design, that's beautiful. So something around that is what you're uncovering, what you're going inward to face and re-fall in love with, see in a more real way, see in a more loving way, and integrate, and finding some self-love for this side of yourself, which is so beautiful. And part of the new rhythms, part of the new balance and harmony and rhythms that you're establishing will be connected to being a little bit lighter in life, a little bit more loving, expressive, lighter, curious, dabbling in things. Yeah, so I love it. Okay, we're going to do a few cards to show what your future self wants to let you know right now, what it wants your current self to have a heads up about right now, for where it's going to be 3 years from now. Beautiful. Life will be unfurling and designing around you much more effortlessly, much more naturally, much more beautifully, much more elegantly. Life is going to be in process and movement of design and beauty. For some of you, if you are kind of, in the arts or enjoy design, that is also something that may happen. You may kind of develop some skills or be on some path that involves design. But more broadly, because that won't connect for everyone, it's like life is generally just naturally, beautifully unfurling and designing around you. Yeah, gorgeous. Okay, we're gonna get two more. The Dancer, self-expression and strength. These definitely feel connected to this nectar and this finding, new rhythms through that. You don't literally need to be a dancer. It says self-expression and strength. I just think you're feeling more free to be a more whole version of yourself, a more free version, expressive version, light, playful, curious, butterfly version of yourself. And I think it's going to feel really good. I think it's going to feel really freeing. And I feel like your connection to your self-expression will finally feel like right. Like, yes, I knew this was in me. And it was like, I've done all these things to try and feel like I'm expressing myself in ways that feel beautiful to me, but it was like I was never quite hitting the nail on the head and I couldn't quite figure it out. But it was like you had to go in and spend some time with and see in new ways and incorporate this nectar aspect of yourself. And so now, 3 years from now, your expression is like, yes, this is what I knew was there, but I couldn't pull out of myself for some reason, and it's making you feel stronger too in life. Really gorgeous. And then we're going to get a dirt gem card, which I probably will need to pull out the guidebook for, oh shoot, I know I pulled out the guidebook and now I don't know where I put it. Well, let's see what comes out. I may or may not need the guidebook. Let's see. Magnolia. Oh, look how beautiful that is. I know magnolias, they are a tree blossom, and they do come out in springtime. Let's see, where is the book so I can read more about that for you guys? Oh, I put some cards on top of it. Okay. Number 60. This is a long description, so I'm just going to kind of pick out maybe like the first paragraph to get a feel for it. So, time traveler. Magnolia says, get ready. It is coming. Your life is about to take a major turn, whether you see it coming or not. Magnolia asks us not to fight change or to resist where our life leads us, but to let things become what they must, and to build our lives with integrity, slow down, and trust. Let's see. We are often, I'll read the last paragraph too. We are often attracted to or called to by Magnolia when there is a natural process unfolding in our lives that we are fighting or resisting. And I think it's this going down to meet a part of yourself that's been locked away. Magnolia will remind you that time and space have no hold on you. Beautiful time traveler. And so it may be traveling back in time to reconnect, with this nectar aspect of yourself when it was free, when it was out much earlier in childhood. So traveling back in time to retrieve this, to fall in love with it, to develop more self-love as you integrate that. Some kind of major turn. So your future self is telling you that you're about to come into a major turn that is directing you towards this deep inner work. So it may not be something that you consciously decide to do. It's like something's going to happen. A major turn in life is going to make you kind of confront this and go down and inward. And I feel like because this was brought up, that this is something happening very soon for you. Interesting. Which would make sense because it takes time, you know, it can take time to really do those deep works, really reconnect with things that we've locked away. So I don't know, it's like I kind of want to get you guys timing on when this turn is coming. But I kind of want to just leave it up to, because it says, get ready, it is coming. Your life is about to take a major turn. And so I'm going to leave it at that. It's about to happen. I would say when you see this, because it's a timeless reading, my intuition is saying that no longer than 3 months, this turn is coming. Yeah, very interesting. Okay, let's go down and take a look at 3 years from now. What kind of journey you are engaged with in terms of creating more autonomy in some sort of like heroine's journey type of aspect of life, which we're always engaged in. And I am going to look at the book for this. Imram, yeah, I definitely don't know that one. So some of them I do know a little bit. Let's see. Okay. Imram in Irish literally means rowing about. In the old tales, which were referred to as Imrama, the protagonist would set off across the sea in a simple coracle with no particular direction in mind. The purpose of the expedition was simply to see where God would lead them. If undertaken an Imram, then if we undertake an Imram, then we give ourselves over to fate. There's no preordained destination, and so an Imram is, above all, about trusting whatever life might have in store for us. There is no map for this particular journey. There's no fixed path, and at certain times in our lives, we might be, that might be a good and necessary thing, because following the paths that others have set for us, the paths that overculture confines us to, can be the cause of many problems. Those earlier paths might not reflect who we really feel we are. This very much so connects to what we've already been seeing in this reading. So you're still kind of in the depths of it. But although we often know that something in our life needs to change, we don't always know what that change should look like. This is a journey then in which we simply leave. We step out of the door, put one foot in front of the other, grit our teeth, and walk. We trust in faith or the gods to point us in the right direction. My sense of this is like, it's not like you're still in the midst of like a journey to integrate this aspect of yourself. I think you've done that. But this sort of letting go and surrendering to where fate wants to lead you is part of this design that's unfolding as you're newly understanding the harmony of life with a more integrated self and what brings balance and harmony and unfoldment. And I think you're just kind of like the dancer, just kind of enjoying it and just kind of seeing like where it takes you with no real specific target or long-term goal, which makes sense within that. Shows that you're honoring that nectar aspect of yourself that you've retrieved and now loved. Is like that is a quality that just does kind of dance, and it kind of flits from one thing to the other, and it just sort of weaves as it goes. And I think that might be like a new sensation to you, to just kind of give into that and see what unfolds in life by just moving with the rhythm, with your rhythm and the rhythm of life, and just really feeling like you can let go and be more divinely guided by your intuition and by the universe. So I think that's beautiful. And there's something about that where you're really coming into a newer sense of autonomy, that is an okay and acceptable thing to do. To be just a little adrift, but in a beautiful way, which still brings flourishing because it's your design, right? Hills, obstacles to overcome. I do see the sun rising in this, even though it says obstacles to overcome. There may still be a little aspect of yourself that is like, is it okay to not have like a long-term serious goal? I feel like that's your obstacle you're trying to overcome, is like to really just sort of surrender into your plan, which is a little bit more in the moment. But you're getting it. The sun is rising. You are getting it. Like, keep going. 3 years from now, that's kind of where you're going to be, is really trying to get that's okay to let go and be just a little bit more trusting of where life takes us. So, a little work on trusting that 3 years from now, but you're doing it at the same time. And the sun is rising, so you're really close to just embracing it and loving it. Okay, let's look at sort of the individuation journey. What's going on there? Action. Beautiful. This definitely indicates that you are well into kind of like, you're past the call to action. This feels to me like you've stepped into the new world. So this is kind of connected to the hero's journey. We have a call to action, a resistance of the call, meeting the guide, entry into the new world, and then we find our friends and allies, and then we go to the belly of the whale. And I kind of feel like you're in the thick of the real deep action, which is a little bit, just because of the image here that has like some storm clouds. I want to say you're a little bit past the belly of the well. You're kind of past the midpoint where it's like the point of no return type of quality outwardly, and something you're doing outward facing in life. You're in the thick of something. You're fighting battles, you're finding courage, you're out in the world kind of fighting the good fight. It's generally just to kind of make it a little more simple. And then crib, birth or conception of a child or enterprise. Yeah, so for some of you, if it connects that you want to have children, that is showing up 3 years from now. If that doesn't connect to you, it could be, just like some kind of new, maybe you are launching your own business or some kind of project, or some kind of creative outlet in the world. So either starting a business or doing something creatively out in the world. It's like you're in the thick of it 3 years from now. You're like very engaged in creative output in the world, having to work with others, having to understand how to find diplomacy, how to find compromise, you're in that thick of it where things are happening, there's traction with something you're doing in the world. And with traction, even though that's what we want, comes those hurdles of, like cooperation, exchanges, diplomacy, tensions to resolve, all that kind of stuff. But it does show you're in the thick of something, things are moving in life, you're really engaged and active in things you're doing outwardly in the world. Okay, we are now going to move into more specific categories. So let's look at, with tarot, your sense of self. So what is your energy and motivation feeling like 3 years from now? Ten of Swords. And the Star. So 3 years from now, you are feeling very motivated to turn over a new leaf. There's something that you've hit the wall with and something new that you feel a lot of hope with. So your motivation is about changing course, is about leaving some things that have given you a lot of sort of mental strain, leaving things that you've hit the wall with, that you're exhausted of, but feeling a lot of new hope, a lot of new energy for the future, feeling motivated to walk toward a new future. That's what's really revving your engine 3 years from now. You're moving to some kind of new vision of yourself and your life. And so it is like your sense of self, and this could be speaking to having newly kind of, so maybe it's at that 3-year point that you've really integrated this aspect of you, and you're so done with not feeling connected to that, of trying to be something you're not, has just been this thing of like hitting your head against the wall. But 3 years from now, you've got it, and you feel a lot more hope in life and a lot more motivation and drive to start moving through that nectar aspect of yourself and creating beautiful rhythms and harmonies and unfoldment of life. So I think it's just a motivation of like how you are connected to your own self and really leaving the past in the past. Okay, we're going to look at your security. We've got Knight of Pentacles and Page of Swords. So you're very actively, like home, family. There are a lot of new ideas coming in and a lot of new sort of devotion and commitment to engaging in the rhythms required to take something from potential and make it grow. So you could be having new ideas about where you want to live or what your home should feel like. It could even just be like how it's designed inside, but it could be a move for some of you, a new idea of like where you want to go. And it does feel like, a new potential of moving somewhere with all those dandelion seeds kind of scattering. There's new potential, new ideas coming through of like where you want to feel rooted. And you're feeling a new sense of like knowing how to engage with the foundations in your life in a much more responsible, thorough, tended to way that feel good to you. And it might just be because this new kind of rhythm is unfolding in you. So now you have like a better sense of how you want to feel grounded in life. And so because of that, you have a greater sense of dedication and determination and patience with kind of creating that new potential in your foundations. Yeah, so a lot of new energy 3 years from now. So I think over the next 3 years, you're going to be doing a lot of inner work. And to be honest, this group right now feels like, as I'm just this moment sort of taking it all in, feels very resonant to where I feel like I'm at right now. I feel like this is a journey I maybe just ended, and I can tell you that like it's so worth it. It's so worth it. It feels really good to be more holy in your expression and see how life, every direction of your life starts to shift into a much more natural unfoldment, and one you feel more devoted to and ready to give some rhythms and processes to, because it's like you can commit to that kind of thing, that kind of tending to things, because it's finally you and your expression. Okay, relationships and love. Beautiful. That one wants to come out. Four of Pentacles and the Chariot. It's interesting. These are kind of like contradictory energies. There could be, I do get the sense that in relationships, something is becoming much more committed, which means you're dealing with some more serious issues of like maybe buying a house with someone or moving in with someone, or if that's something you've already done, like this thing of like one of you maybe wanting to move and the other not wanting to move. So there's a little bit of tension in this, but not in a destabilizing of a relationship or love. It's more of a we're very committed, we're very solid, but like one of us, it's like home related, like one of us wants to move and one of us wants to stay put, or is a little nervous about security in that kind of like moving somewhere. Yeah, so it is what it is, but I don't see any I don't see any problems in the way of like this being something that would break a relationship or take away from love. It's like a thing. It's just like but it's like a more deepening of a relationship. But with that, comes those negotiations that happen. If you're not currently in a relationship and you're wondering if relationships coming, this could then indicate, and this is just for people who are currently single and wondering about a relationship, it does indicate someone's coming, and someone that's maybe very stable. Is very concerned about stability and security and kind of cautious, which is maybe, as the nectar aspect incorporated into your personality, may be something that's nice for you to have. So yeah, there's that. Okay, and then let's look at career. Or if you're younger, like school, can also be school. Just out, external world responsibilities. How are those feeling 3 years from now? Three of Pentacles. You're definitely engaged in things. You're working with others. You're very in the world here. Queen of Swords as well. Yeah, for some of you, I don't remember where it said it. Oh, I think it was in that hero's journey part, that individuation. It did talk about like starting an enterprise. This could definitely indicate some of you kind of starting your own, working for yourself or as a contractor. there is some independence here, but at the same time, there's also working with others. So I don't know if that's like you hiring people or you having to, as like a contractor, still work with, you know, it's not necessarily clients. It's like, because it's more collaborative work, but it's like, you know, working with different companies, partners, collaborators in something. In some ways, the Three of Pentacles can also just indicate sort of a building out of your mind, creating sort of plans and practical mapping of what you're doing and where you're going. So that also may be for some of you that you're in the midst of kind of like mapping out and constructing this new sort of business. Yeah. So either way, it's either you're working for yourself, but you still are, the nature of what you're doing, you're having to kind of plug in and work with people in the world, so you're not completely solitary, or you're really laying some plans and creating the architecture of something you're doing on your own. Okay, to end, we are going to get a message from mind, body, and soul 3 years from now. So we're going to start with, well, body, mind, and soul. We're going to start with body. So a message about from your body, from your future self 3 years from now. Hyena. I think inside of yourself, like how you're feeling in your embodiment is a complete flip from where you're feeling embodied right now. Is like a 180, a complete opposite in body, how you feel now. But only the thing, like, I don't feel in the sense of like, if you feel really good in your body right now, I don't want you to feel like, oh, I'm going to feel terrible 3 years from now. This is about lightening things up, flipping things on their head in order to lighten up and see the absurdity of certain things. And so areas in your body embodiment where there are some things that feel like they're in the dark, you're going to 3 years from now have those flipped on their head, and they will be in the light, and it will be a lightening up in those aspects that feel dark right now. Okay, mind, your mind 3 years from now wants to show you something about itself. Get creative. So you're feeling mentally inspired, mentally alive, mentally excited, active. That's beautiful. And then your spirit, what it wants to share with you from its future, from your future self. This one, the white swan. The power of divine grace is within you. And I feel like that's the transformation just in your essence. And that's a lot of what's been shown here. It's a lot of like your essence really coming into a deeper, more integral, whole, beautiful alignment. And you'll feel that. You're going to feel in spirit much more swan-like than you feel right now. Much more elegant and graceful and in rhythm with your own grace, you know, which is empowering as well. All right, this is where I'm going to leave you guys. I hope this was insightful. If it resonated, I always appreciate support with likes, shares, and subscribes. Always grateful for kind and thoughtful comments. If you are interested in astrology, that's something I also do a lot of and have done for like 25 years. So down in the descriptions, there's a link to my astrology newsletter. I put out a free one once a month with the astrology of the month. There's also a paid version where there's more emails that come throughout the month. yeah, so if you're interested in that, go check out that newsletter or subscribe to it to get the next one that will come out. And yeah, this is where I'm going to leave you. I hope you have a beautiful day, and I hope you feel excited about this future. I think it's a really beautiful insight, beautiful looking future. So, all right, I will see you guys in future readings. Hello, Pile 2. Welcome to your reading, where your future self wants to bring you some messages about your life 3 years from now. So you guys picked the Karmic Clearing card, and this is a card kind of showing the general undertone landscape 3 years from now. And this card has a lot to do with a new level of consciousness that you're coming into. But at the same time, 3 years from now, even though you may have some awakenings and some ahas that really raise your vibration and take you to a new level of consciousness, there can still be struggles to let go of that past level because there's so many things entangled with it that kind of take almost an intervention from spirit to help us release. But it's time. Three years from now, it's like it's time for that release to happen. So certain patterns, struggles, aspects of psyche that you may feel like you really struggle with right now, it's like you're really, 3 years from now, it's like you're really having some enlightened awakenings about what those stem from, where they're coming from, and how they're rooted in a certain level of consciousness. Which is beautiful to hear that, like, major, like the major issues you may be experiencing right now are not going to be the issues you'll be experiencing 3 years from now, but you're still going to be in a process of trying to let them go. Even though they won't be sort of entangled and entrenched in your life, there's things you're going to need to push yourself with. I kind of feel your future self saying, like, I'm really working hard to open up to divine grace and really asking for help to sort of let these things go. Like, I'm past them. I'm in the new consciousness. That feels great, but there's attachments. There's things that are hard to let go of still. But I'm getting it. I get that I have to ask for divine intervention. I have to surrender. I have to ask for help. I'm in that surrendered state. But the main message it wants to bring you, your future self wants to bring you, is like, it feels so much better right now. These things that we've struggled with for years are no longer a struggle. Yeah, so, really powerful work in the next 3 years that's going to be taking place. And it's not, your future self wants to say, it's not like something happens overnight where suddenly you have a different level of consciousness. It's like over the next 3 years, little by little, you will be understanding aspects of that new level of consciousness and aspects of the consciousness you're in now. So, like, it's a process. It's not an overnight thing, but 3 years from now, you're fully, it's like you've had that full awakening and you're really, ascended to a new level of consciousness. So if you're already kind of doing some work to, like, understand some of your patterns, to really understand the nature of consciousness and how you connect to that, keep doing that. It's leading you to really, really beautiful work and progress. Okay, we're gonna get a Wild Unknown Archetype card for a little more context about this. This wants to come out. The Flame. This is your own inner sacred flame. This is about what it is that brings you passion, that drives you, that you feel as a sacred aspect of yourself, like really understanding what your inner light is about. So there may be some work over the next 3 years of really going inward to understand your inner light versus being outward facing, trying to grab light, to chase light, to try to get your light from other places, or to be attracted to the light of other things. It's like this is some inward work will be taking place over the next 3 years, where you're going to be like, oh, my light is within. And even if you understand that now and have a connection to that, like that's tenfold happening. And I get that, like that burst of light around the person is their inner light now going from like a flame of a candle, which is like maybe where it is right now. It's like, I think you've sort of connected to a small flicker of what your inner light is, but 3 years from now, it's like radiating out of you. It's so strong, which does indicate that trajectory. It's not like you're going to go through all this toil for 3 years and then 3 years from now this happens. It's like little by little you're here, and by 3 years you're here, in terms of understanding your inner light and how that's affecting the level of consciousness you're functioning at. So really cool journey over the next 3 years to really feel much more bright, much more connected to your inner source, much more honoring and respectful of yourself, and in awe of yourself because you know what your light is. Beautiful. Okay, we're going to get some messages from your future self around what it wants you to know about your life currently. Sorry, I need to rephrase that. What it wants your current self to know about life 3 years from now. So something that may feel especially either exciting, comforting, illuminating. There's some things it wants to tell you about life 3 years from now that you currently would need to know, or would be nice to know at least. Deus Ex Machina. This is a huge in narrative structure, in storytelling. There's these moments that take place that you feel like all is lost. Like the protagonist is in over their head, there's no way out for them, and it's like some miraculous thing happens where the plot completely shifts, and there's this kind of exalted divine intervention, change and turn of events that really shifts the landscape and allows life to open up, and like exciting things to happen, movement to suddenly happen. So currently, I feel your future self wants you to know this, especially if you're feeling a little bit stuck. Stuck or in over your head is like a massive turning point is coming that you wouldn't necessarily foresee. It's like divine intervention. The thing with that in stories is it doesn't come, it may seemingly in the moment come out of nowhere, but then if you like say this isn't a movie, but then if you rewind, you see that there were seeds laid for this. Like there were little hints, there were little actions taken that explain where it came from. Like if these things come out of nowhere and there's no hints about it, it can feel like you've been cheated in the story. Like it doesn't, like, yeah, it feels like a cheat. So I feel like your future self is saying, look for those little seeds. be an active participant in trying to solve problems in your life, trying to move things forward, trying to make right connections, make right decisions, being proactive in your life. And so even if you feel like everything you're doing, it's like you're hitting your head against the wall for some reason, it's not for nothing. All of these little things that you can do to be proactive in your life are going to create a really, really huge moment in your future. And I'm getting the sense that it's not even 3 years away. Like, I feel like your future self, because it has that view, is saying like, keep on the path, keep being proactive, keep trying to move certain things forward in your life, because a huge release is happening, coming up in your life. My intuitive sense is this is within the next year. I feel like if it were more than a year, this wouldn't be a thing your future self would be wanting to tell your current self right now, because that would be like a long time to wait for a big plot twist if you're really feeling stuck, right? So I feel like from when you see this in the next year, there's going to be a huge plot twist in your life, but it doesn't come out of nowhere. Even though it can be like divine intervention, it doesn't come out of nowhere. Minimally, you've at least asked for this. Minimally, you've at least communicated to the universe about this. Even more so, I think it's about being proactive and trying to make things happen. And don't get discouraged if you feel like you're just constantly hitting your head against the wall. That release, that breakthrough, and that huge plot shift is coming, and it's because of you being proactive. The vengeance, overcoming slights, and a choice. Interesting. And then we've got a picture of an anchor. I can't help but notice and I know that, sometimes these triangle shapes indicate one of the elements, which I think in this case is water, but I can't help but notice it also feels like the anchor. I think this feels connected to the Deus Ex Machina. I feel like it's more information around this, that there is a choice. If you can come from a higher place and not act out of hard emotions such as anger or jealousy or vengeance or whatever it is to you, competitiveness, if there's a choice you can make because to you it feels right and it feels anchored, that's going to be a very pivotal aspect of this turning point coming. So this is asking you, this is your future self saying you need to get into your higher mind and think about what you need for you to feel more anchored. What is a choice you can make in your life right now that will make you feel more anchored? Something about that is a key to this release. It may not be the thing that's the release, but it's a choice. It's a seed that's laid that is a pivotal one for this pivotal moment to be released, like to open up in your life. But there's something where it's like you're needing to raise above kind of lower consciousness things, acting in reaction or response to external stimuli, external events, and turning inward again to your inner flame, tending to that inner flame to make some choice just for you that has nothing to do with anything else in the world, that feels like it will give you an anchor. Okay. Last card from future self about what your current self needs to know is Mimosa. And I'm going to read just a little bit from the guidebook for this one. Not the guidebook's long, so just a snippet to give an idea of what's going on here. Okay, so Mimosa is the polisher of radiance. Mimosa the glorious, effortlessly showy, radiating buoyancy and care. Mimosa is the bright light and twinkling confidant you have been looking for. And then I'm going to read the last paragraph that usually has some kind of summary. Mimosa creates the stability for your dreams to become realized without inhibiting the spontaneity and freedom of your imagination. The stability for your dreams. This feels connected now to the anchor. It's interesting because the first reading, these cards didn't feel fully connected as a story, but these in your reading feel very much so like one breadcrumb leading to the next, giving you further and further context of like something your current self really needs to know right now. So this choice that it's asking you to make some kind of a choice or take some kind of an action that is not in a response or a reaction to your external world, but a response to what helps you to feel like it keeps your flame lit or helps you to keep connected to your flame. And then even further, it's saying, and it should be one that gives you a certain sense of stability in order to allow yourself to, like, it's a paradox that like sometimes we need to create some kind of stable foundation to stand on in order to have the freedom to dream, in order to have the security we need to feel in order to fly, right? In order to be more, just free and untethered. And then Mimosa is a grounded and bright friend, the dependable stalwart mountain, and the breeze dancing on its edge. So it's like make a choice that gives you some stability, and that stability will then allow you to dream. And this is the path for this big plot twist to happen. These are the seeds you need to lay, the actions you should be taking that are allowing that plot twist to happen. So because your future self is telling you this, it's like, this does happen, you do this, but it's sort of like, but maybe this never would have happened unless I told you right now about this. And so it's like, just crossing its T's and dotting its I's, like, I don't want my future to change because I love what happened here. So maybe I need to communicate to you right now, because that might be the thing that spurs me on to make certain choices that give me more solid ground in order to dream, in order to more deeply go into and connect to my inner light and see where my inner light takes me to dream, kind of thing. Yeah. Okay, we are going to move on now to look at, in 3 years from now, get a message from your future self 3 years from now, where it's at in terms of a heroine's journey and a hero's journey. We're always at some point in those, like I said in the intro, so it's not like, even if what comes up feels like it's further at the start of a journey than you're on right now, it's because you're on a different journey. But we're going to get insight into this. So heroine's journey, which is about autonomy. Cliff, standing on the edge, you're about to 3 years from now, about to start a new heroine's journey. So this would be sort of like Belle from Beauty and the Beast leaving her home, her and her father's home, to try and find her father. So taking the leap out of this home place where she's comfortable, where she, life has a certain normalized functionality, and she's about to go chase into the forest to try and track down her father and see what's happened to him. So it's like setting off onto a new journey. You're about to start a new journey 3 years from now. And a little info about this cracked cup. Dissatisfaction with life. Interesting. I don't feel that as like a whole, life as a whole. I want to see what aspect of life. So I'm going to roll an astrology dice, and it just completely, where did it go? Oh my gosh, you have to stand up and figure this out. Oh, it's right behind the plant. Okay, let me roll that over. Your spirituality, your connection to spirit, your connection to art and mysticism, your connection to feeling surrendered and feeling connected to something bigger. I don't feel like it's like this dissatisfaction of like, that hasn't been going well in my life and it's all broken. It's like you're going to start seeing that there's been some rose-colored glasses in terms of how you've been spiritually centered in life. Even if you feel like you're spiritually centered 3 years from now, like you're suddenly going to be like, oh, I've been seeing through certain lenses that have a certain tint in them that I'm ready to, peel back that tint to see more clearly. So this is about to jump into a new journey of spiritual internal value, like understanding of your internal values about spirituality and mysticism. So maybe you've been really paying attention to external factors in that, like what has the world told me about this? What do other people do? How are you, how is one spiritual? And this is like a journey to connect to what you actually value in spirituality and finding a more personal connection to it. So about to set off on that 3 years from now. And then the hero's journey, more about kind of individuation. Let's see 3 years from now what's happening. Change. So a lot of change coming. Your future self is saying like 3 years from now, we're really in the midst of a lot of changes. And I think it's, when you change a level of consciousness, it makes sense that life starts to reorient. Things start to shift. You're seeing with new lenses in both places here. So let's see what this change might have to do with. Kangaroo, unsettled times, need to plan ahead. I want to see what this is. I didn't do this with pile 1, but I'm feeling the need to know the area of life these relate to. Relationships, unsettled times, change, need to plan ahead. I believe this kangaroo has a little joey in its pouch too. This, for some of you, could be, depending on your phase of life, could be a new little one coming in. And that does change everything in life. For others of you, relationship status could be changing, either leaving a relationship or getting into a new relationship. But I think no matter what way this goes, whether it's like a new element coming into a relationship that changes it or a change of status in relationship, this is showing that you are in your new consciousness, you're standing in more of like, doesn't mean you have to be a mother, but more of the mother archetype where you have a little bit more grounding and inner radiance rather than like chasing radiance. Your radiance is coming from within, so you're making more mature decisions, moving life through you, really having an eye on plans and doing things with care. So whatever this change is about in a relationship, it's like you're doing things in a much more mature way, whatever's changing here. And I think that part of you're like in this individuation process, in this of like really understanding, like you're like a more mature archetype of yourself, and coming into a little bit more understanding of your power, of your voice, of your power, of your needs, of your ability to be the one that drives things, that makes the plans, that makes the decisions, when it serves the best foundational needs of a relationship. So this feels like 3 years from now, you're pretty far into a journey of individuation. It's like almost to the resurrection point, it feels like, where it's like you're close to knowing how to balance, like return to the old world with the new bounty. But in this case, it's like being able to return to an old world as like a much more mature person, individuating, and a much more mature person within, specifically within relationships, and that's creating some changes. Yeah, interesting. Okay, to now get into like much more specific things, we're going to look at the 4 cardinal directions of life. So 3 years from now, your sense of direction and motivation, sort of what's motivating you, what's lighting you up. 6 of Wands and 7 of Cups. Very interesting. You may be a little bit, I do see again this desire to be creating changes 3 years from now. And I think you're feeling motivated to create options, to explore opportunities. But you're coming from this much more mature kind of archetype and higher consciousness. So you're not just chasing things to chase things, but you're feeling motivated and energized to kind of open doors, create opportunities, and create options in your life. Yeah, okay. Let's look at foundation, so home, family, sense of security in life. I feel like this one wants to come out. We've got 8 of Wands and 6 of Cups. I again feel a sense of change here. Like so much is changing 3 years from now. Like you're creating new opportunities. You're coming into a whole new kind of sense of yourself and your maturity. And in your foundations, I see you really creating, I don't know necessarily if it's a move, but you're creating a lot of change in home and family, in your foundations. There's a lot of traction, there's a lot of movement, there's a lot of change going on. For some, it can be a move, but I don't feel like it has to be. If it is a move, it would be like a dramatic move, like overseas or something, or like a whole new city. But I feel like for a lot of you, it's just like a lot of change, a lot of movement, a lot of, maybe expanding, maybe moving, expanding your home, whether that's in people or size, or just like freshening things up, like completely redoing how it feels in your home. But a lot of movement, a lot of traction, and a lot of beautiful memories being felt too. There's a lot of nostalgia around your sense of home and family that's very positive and beautiful. So I think you've created a lot of beautiful memories over the next 3 years in terms of home and family, which is a really positive thing to hear, because I feel like some of the stuff that's come up is like, it's a lot of work to be done in 3 years, but this is saying this is a sweet spot. There's a lot of beauty here over the next 3 years, because this is showing you're reflecting on that in 3 years. Okay, relationships and love, High Priestess. Yeah, we've already seen something about relationships, but we're going to get a little more. High Priestess, yeah, you're really trusting your intuition in things and feeling motivated to, it's like your mind is coming into some empowerment here, like really having some fresh ideas, some understandings coming in that might be that raise in consciousness. That's like new keys being felt, like the right key. It's like you found the right key to something and you're really trusting yourself intuitively, and it's really unlocking certain things. Unlocking maybe the changes you're craving right now. Okay, career and outer world responsibility. So for some of you that could be school, for some it could be career. 10 of Cups, that's beautiful. And 3 of Wands. Really positive energy. Some of you may be working for family 3 years from now, or just, feel your foundations as like such a beautiful soft spot that it makes career and the outer world pressures you have to hold worth it. But there's some connection to career or outer world responsibility and feeling a sense of harmony and beauty and safety with family and the flow of life and just holding everything. I feel career being, home and career being kind of like this soft, easy spot. But some new things happening. It's like you're making new plans for the future. You're seeing new horizons. Your ship is coming in some way, which is making you feel, for some of you, you may have like a really stable spouse, which allows you to have be a little bit more easy about what you do in the outer world, but something exciting is going on. I don't know exactly what that is, but I don't know. There might be something about like your status as a couple with something, because there is some kind of unlocking some key in relationships going on, and that's showing up in relationships. So a spouse could be doing really well for sure, or both of you could be doing really well, or you could be doing really well, but someone in your unit is doing really well. If you're single, it just means life is flowing. But I don't feel this like a lot of pressure, but I don't feel that being sort of like a laziness. It's just like you've done a really good job of reaching for things that are harmonious with who you are, reaching for responsibility and mastery and position in the world that are very harmonious with who you are, making it easy to hold. And that allows you to have more space for, balance in your life, and just like positive things happening. Okay, last thing, we are going to get a message from your future selves, body, mind, and spirit. Just kind of a look at the energetic quality going on. So body, a message from your future self's body, feeling this one. The wolf. Yeah, and that's like a pack mother. You don't have to be female, but there is this like pack mentality with the wolf. So in a body way, feeling this need to create security and safety and protection for those who you would consider your pack. It's like your body has instinct around that. So definitely some of you may be becoming new parents, but if not, you're just feeling 3 years from now, your body's feeling very instinctual about your pack. Your mind, the wildling. Yeah, I love that. You're really, your mind too is trusting your instincts. This is indicating your mind isn't overactive. It's not like you're overly trying to plan things or use your mind to drive life. Your mind is allowing you to trust your heart and your body a little bit. It's actually a little bit surrendered and allowing, body, spirit, heart to kind of take the lead, and it's just supporting. Your mind is like in a supporting role here, which is really beautiful. It's like you trusting your heart and your instincts and the universe. And so you're not feeling this need to overthink or overplan or, get the messiness of the mind engaged in too much, which would indicate that, that higher level of consciousness too coming in. And then Spirit has the nuthatch, stay grounded and welcome the new knowledge and perspective coming to you. Yeah, we've seen a lot about grounding here. That anchor thing, making a choice that anchors you. This is showing beautiful foundations, kind of an instinct to protect your pack. And then that, the higher consciousness, so new knowledge and perspectives coming in, stay grounded with that. Sometimes to anchor in newer, higher vibrations, we have to work extra hard to ground ourselves too. So beautiful, really exciting stuff coming. It feels like a lot of change 3 years from now, but doing a lot in the meantime, leading up to the 3 years to really, like even in the next year, have some plot twists, have some things release and change and free up. So it's not like overnight, but little by little, you're moving from an inner flame to this radiant, your inner flame being this radiant quality. So really gorgeous. Love it for you guys. I hope this resonated. If so, I always appreciate support with likes and shares and subscribes. Always grateful for kind and thoughtful comments, and definitely check out in my descriptions if you like astrology. I put out a free monthly astrological kind of outlook in a newsletter. So there's a link to join that newsletter in my descriptions if you're interested. I've done astrology a lot longer than I've done cards. I love both of them, but I do like to share astrology too, so go check that out. All right, I will see you guys in future readings. I hope you have a beautiful day. Hello, Pile 3. Welcome to your reading with a message from your future self 3 years from now. I guess I should say messages, not just a message. So to jump in, we are going to tap into the card you chose. And then I'll pick another oracle card to give a little context to that, to show a general kind of like the undertone of what, kind of like where your vibration is 3 years from now, like what your undertone functionality feels like 3 years from now. And this card, Paradigm Shift, is indicating that 3 years from now, you have become a much more free-thinking individual. I don't know if I said that clear. Free thinking. I think I kind of muffled that. So for some of you, it could mean, like, there are some examples I'm going to give. For some of you, this could be like leaving a certain tradition with certain belief systems, and opening your mind to very different ways of seeing. For others of you, it could be that, like, maybe you've moved to a very new and different place, and it's opened you up to seeing through different lenses, holding perspectives that are much more broad than what you previously held. But for a lot of you, I feel like it's just kind of like suddenly having this insight that like not everything you read, not everything that's told to you, not everything that everyone's doing around you or believes around you is actually free thought, is actually coming from higher or ultimate or even spiritual truths. And you're starting to kind of see through a lot of veils of illusion. This can indicate that there will be people in your world 3 years from now that you may be breaking ties with because you're just like not on the same level of consciousness. There may be people around you that are still thinking in a certain way that you're seeing an illusion into that way of thinking. So it's hard for you to kind of just exist on the same level. And it's not saying you have to see them as an enemy or as a bad person or have negative relationships. It's just that you're going to start attracting different kinds of people into your life just because of the way you're seeing and the way you're thinking in a much more free way. You may also 3 years from now, like maybe you have an element of that already, but there's some fear around being able to feel free to express the way you're seeing. But 3 years from now, this is indicating that you are very, feeling very free to, like free and confident and really grounded and anchored in some confidence in how you're seeing and thinking and expressing yourself, and just being much more free with expressing what is actually in you. But yeah, so paradigm shift comes with all sorts of shifts, not just you seeing in different ways and seeing through old illusions and overlays and just seeing truth in from a much higher perspective. But it means that your whole existence shifts. The people in your life, the things you're doing, maybe even where you live, is just like everything. The things that orbit around your life are all, it's like you're gonna be in like a whole different sort of system of living. Like you're almost like you're in a different solar system. Like she even looks like with her like golden eyes, like she might live on a different planet or something. And you may feel like from where you live now, if you were to get a glimpse into how you're living 3 years from now, it may feel like alien to you. Like that's how big of a shift this will be. So obviously it's not like overnight, like all of a sudden you wake up 3 years from now and you're living this completely different existence. It will be like over the next 3 years that will be taking place. But in 3 years, this is how it feels compared to where you are now. Okay, let's do Wild Unknown archetype card to give a little more context to this. And the Temple. I love this. The way you're living, how life feels, how you are feeling about expressing yourself, and a certain confidence. Like I look at this image and this person and they feel confident and fierce and like very stable. And something about that also brings this sense of life that you're living a very sacred life, that you treat your body like a temple, you treat your life like a temple, you treat the things you do, the rhythms, your daily processes, your habits, your rituals as very sacred. And it makes your life feel like you are living within just sacred space, so just a deep sacredness and a deep fierce knowing of, and like confidence of like the way you are seeing is definitely coming through here. This person also feels like someone, I don't know, like leadership is coming through here, like someone people listen to and look up to, just like what you're doing kind of thing is definitely coming through here. Okay, we are now going to look at some things that your future self would like your current self to know. The first two piles were very different in how this came out. Pile 1 sort of felt like it was stuff you needed to know about 3 years from now, and they were all kind of different things. But pile 2, it was all like this, a same thread, and it was about stuff I think the future self wanted them to know really soon about things that were about to happen. So we'll just see what happens for you. We've got release. That makes sense. It feels like it's referencing what we've already talked about. This release from programming and overlays and being told what to think, or buying into believing things just because some supposed authority said it, or some supposed credible source, put out information or told people to think this way or that way, and you're just like released from that. You're like, I don't care what credibility or authority things have. If they're not the truth, they're not the truth. If that's an illusion, that's an illusion. And you feel very released from overlays in general. You're just seeing very, very, from a very high perspective. And I don't know why your future self wants you to know that right now in your current self. Maybe there's something about that feels very relieving to you. Or maybe this is kind of a hint to you to start releasing some ideas, or releasing yourself from hiding your ideas. I don't know. That might be personal to each of you. Okay, let's get a Citadel card. The Founder, Foundations and Community. Yeah, like I said, I feel like there's some kind of leadership thing coming out of this future kind of undertone of you. Honestly, I don't know if you're starting a community, like maybe you join some community that helps you to see through things, or you start some kind of community, or you just find a sense of community. But there's something about you being kind of an anchoring force for some kind of community. I mean, there's building tools here, the hammer, a sword. I don't know. Maybe that's something where your future self's like, I think you maybe already sense this to a degree. And it's like, get to it. Start building towards that future. Start creating foundations to make you feel secure and supported in the way you want to be in the world. To feel safe to be you. Maybe that's what's coming through, is like your current self really needs to know that you need to do some work on cultivating community as soon as you can, just like right now, that makes you feel more safe to be you. And that's something that will help you to feel more and more released and free to be you. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I think this is your future self just saying, like, get to it. I think you're already, like, internally into, like, maybe not fully into, like, having an internal paradigm shift, but, like, into the journey of it. But, like, externally, you haven't found ways to feel supported in that. And I think your future self is saying it's time to start doing things in your external world to support who you are becoming. Okay, let's get a Dirt Gems card. Let's see. Blue, I need glasses. Blue Vervain. Blue Vervain. And I'm going to pull out the guidebook for this because I am not a plant medicine expert, which is what this card is about. But the descriptions in the book are pretty lengthy, so I'm just going to kind of get a feel for it real quick. Read maybe a paragraph or two. So it says, protection of dream space is what this plant is about. Blue vervain is a dear and faithful protector of our most vulnerable state and habitat, dream space. Blue vervain regenerates our nervous system, not by giving energy or connecting us more brightly with our on, but because they allow us to rest, to restore, and renew. They are an ally to those who have suffered trauma at any point in their lives and who therefore find it difficult to feel relaxed, safe, or okay, even when the original threat is well past or gone. Blue vervain is a soft and heavy blanket to wrap yourself in and fully let go. And then maybe I'll read the last paragraph. Blue vervain is also a restorer of the earth. They occupy edges, disturbed soils, and harsh, dry, poorly treated landscapes. Blue vervain allows these areas too to rest and to regenerate. Give your edgelands and rocky places over to blue vervain. Yeah, this feels kind of like its own message. Your future self telling you need to pay more attention to rest, recuperation, like maybe going, like if you're already in this internal journey of like feeling some sort of paradigm shift, that could really be activating your nervous system. And I think your future self is saying, like, be gentle with yourself. It's a pretty radical process to go through, and you need to be able to turn off sometimes, and you need to be able to restore, rejuvenate, recuperate, and go into dream time as well to kind of, go in. It's like going into that primordial soup to help you incubate this new self that's coming through it. So it's like the dream space is a place that's safe for you while you do work over the next 3 years to find outward places to feel safe. Your dream space is a place to feel very safe to incubate this part of you that's sort of starting to congeal and come into something. So really pay extra attention to finding ways to get into deep sleep, to give yourself enough rest, find ways to turn off your parasympathetic nervous system. So doing vagal nerve exercises, doing nidra yoga, yin yoga. There's all sorts of things you can do. Mindfulness, just things that calm the nervous system. But especially dream time allows you also to go into this incubation space. So very, very important. Okay, next we are going to look at the kind of two heroine and hero journeys, like what's going on for you in those things that we're always engaged with 3 years from now, which can give us some ideas about life for you 3 years from now. Ellen, I think it's actually Ellen of the Ways, a path maker and guide. Wow. I just want to peek at the what this particular guidebook, how they place her in terms of the heroine's journey. Okay, in an old Welsh story called The Dream of Maxenweldig, I'm sure I pronounced that incorrectly, Ellen, an otherworldly princess of Britain, appears to the Roman Emperor Maxene in an Aisling, a dream vision. She acts as a guide, captivating him with a vision of beautiful land across the waters and a beautiful woman there with whom he instantly falls in love. And so Ellen reels Maxen in along the thread of her dream paths, bringing him to her so that he can marry her and serve the land alongside her as its king. The story tells us that it was Ellen who built the so-called Roman roads, which joined up for the first time the various remote regions of the land. The story firmly states that the men of Britain would have allowed the roads to be built for no one but her because she was native to the land's representative. Ellen, like so many other female characters in Celtic myth and story, is a representative of sovereignty, the goddess of the land. The building of these great connecting roads is the reason why Ellen has now come to be known as Ellen of the Ways. Yeah, that's what I said, Ellen of the Ways. Ellen then can be seen as an ally on our journey, a native goddess and guide who helps us to dream into being our own unique pathway through life. Look for her in your dreams. Interesting. So, what's fascinating in a heroine's journey is there's parallels with the different steps, but they're doing different things. So in a hero's journey, there's the meeting with the guide, kind of the spiritual guide, right before you enter the new world. And that's usually a positive occurrence. But in the heroine's journey, that meeting with the guide does not have to be a positive force. That guide can have their own agenda. They can be manipulating. But this is indicating that the guide, so you're just starting 3 years from now, a new journey. And you're at a point before stepping onto a new path of meeting a guide who is a very positive force, who's native to whatever you're about to walk into. So it can be a very experienced way shower. But we did see that Ellen had her agenda of bringing that king to her. So this guide may have some agenda too, but I don't see it as negative. It's like a visionary, an agenda of a future that's already going to take place. And they're just helping that future to manifest. And you're a part of that. And so they're kind of roping you in, kind of thing. But someone that does know the lay of the land, who has the experience to back up their guidance, and has, the way showing capability. And they may be, and I know it's not exactly the story that was hers and put in the guidebook, but generally the story of these Celtic goddesses who are sovereigns, which is it's like they are the land. And so a king has to marry one to rule on a land. They have to have that permission from the sovereign goddess. And so this may also be some indication of a journey, like what the journey is about is you finding a greater sense of sovereignty, finding some more autonomy in feeling, self-sovereign is what it feels like to me. So you're about to start out on a path to feel a lot more self-sovereign in 3 years. And I don't think that anyone would start off on a journey like that unless they felt really confident, capable, and like a leader. To be someone that's self-sovereign is to be very whole in yourself. So that's really cool insight. That definitely is indicating that 3 years from now you are, feeling very whole to yourself. A little extra funnel, period of frustration, lessons to be learned. Yeah, I mean, anytime you begin a journey, there's a lot of unknowns. There's a lot of uncertainty that you're about to step into. But funnel, period of frustration, lessons to be learned. It's like things are coming into, it's like that's the V that's leading to the bottleneck that's leading into the new journey. And it's like you're in the bottleneck right now. And so it's like, in 3 years, I would say. So I think currently you're in the funnel. You're moving in toward that bottleneck that's going to put you in a liminal space between where you are now and a new path. But in 3 years from now, you reach that bottleneck that's the liminal space between. And in that, there's just like a lot of, it's a place where we can end up doing some shadow work. It's a place where we have to really surrender and go through some self-annihilation of our old self. That actually feels like that's maybe what the lessons and frustration are, is like 3 years from now, it's like really getting into that place of self-annihilation of your past self so that you can really step into that paradigm shift in a real concrete way, because you're powerful enough to. So 3 years from now, you're at that point of about to step into the paradigm, like a new path of discovering your, like really unleashing your paradigm shift, a new path that allows that paradigm shift to go on that journey that will give you much more sovereignty. So keep doing the work, because you're already in the funnel, I believe. You're already going towards that space where you're going to be moving from one reality into a different one. But 3 years from now is the actual transition. Okay, let's look at the hero's journey. So some individuation, what's in a process of individuation 3 years from now. So this is more outer world stuff, success. This feels like the success is sort of the boon that happens after the belly of the whale. So a little past midpoint of something in a hero's journey. Let's see what it has to do with. 4-leaf clover, great good fortune. Well, we don't know what it's around. I guess our future self doesn't quite want us to know that. But just saying, 3 years from now, there is some outer world success happening, and it's due to some good fortune that came your way. Kind of good timing, right place, right time, preparation meets opportunity, but a leg up in some way, feeling some success, feeling like you have your feet under you in some way in terms of how you are sort of establishing yourself in the outer world. So I don't know if it's around personality, around career, we don't know that, but something's happening where you're feeling your feet on the ground, some good fortune, some success happening. Yeah, beautiful. Okay, we are going to move into more specific territory. Let's get some insight 3 years from now from your future self. The 4 cardinal directions of life. So initially, let's look at what is your energy in terms of what's motivating you. What is it that gets you moving, gets you out of bed, gets you energized in life? Oh, 2 cards came up already. 9 of Cups and 9 of Swords. Very interesting. It's very contradictory cards too, in a way, which is fascinating, because 9 of Swords, and I'm trying to read it in the way that this card is illustrated, which is funny because I use this deck a lot and I've literally never looked at this card. I've never drawn it. I've never really, it's actually a beautiful illustration. So 9 of Swords can typically mean sort of like nightmares, anxiety, and then 9 of Cups is like a wish fulfillment. And you can kind of feel that in both of these cards. I feel like because what we're seeing at that 3-year point is that you're like in the liminal space between the old paradigm and about to move into the new paradigm. It's, it's a destabilizing feel. Like you're moving in a positive direction, but that doesn't mean things will feel completely grounded underfoot. And so just that uncertainty of what's to come, of this new path, this new trajectory, that it could just be giving you a little bit of anxiety, just a feeling of not feeling super grounded, but paradoxically also feeling very lucky and very like dreams coming true, like you're like knowing you're on the right path, knowing that where you're headed feels unbelievable because it feels so good. But there's uncertainty in it. It's like this general where you're going, you know, and feeling that more freedom to be the free thinker you are, but like your whole reality is going to shift, right? So there's some anxiety about that. So that kind of, I think, is going to be 3 years from now something that motivates you to try and stabilize things and ground things and find your roots. And I think that's also why this is saying to start already practicing, because if you start practicing these things now and working on these things now, they'll be real assets to you 3 years from now, of like having really learned how to sleep well and go into dream time and really incubate this new self, this new paradigm shift of you, version of you, and finding community that can support you in this. Those things, the more you work on them, the more it will help this 9 of Swords kind of uncertainty. You'll have people to lean on, you'll have habits that help you sleep better, right? But overall, there's a positive sense, like, yes, I'm moving in the right direction. I can't believe it. This feels so right. But everything's changing, and that's scary. Okay, so a little bit of a paradox there, but positive. Okay, so now we're going to look at foundations in life. How do home and family feel? How does stability and security feel? Temperance. So you're holding things very well. In your private life, things are being held. You are bridging worlds. We've already seen that, and that's very evident in your home life, but you're doing it with grace and beauty, and you may be bringing some people with you who are comfort zone people from previous version of yourself. You may be helping them to shift paradigms as well, but also new people coming in, new soul tribe. But it's not, like I said before in the very start, I think people from your past, family, friends, people who have been real foundational in your life, I don't see you making like this huge break with them. You're going to find a way to balance keeping them sacred to you, but really honoring and being fully present in your new paradigm. There's some way you're going to be able to find to do this very gracefully and hold it all together with some kind of like ease and higher perspective ability. But there are a lot of new people coming into your foundations too. True soul tribe people for the new paradigm you're entering. So that's beautiful, really great foundations there, which does indicate that you're going to be doing a lot of beautiful work with you know, trying to create some community over the next 3 years that feels safe to you. Okay, let's look at relationships and love. King of Wands, that's beautiful. And then let's take this top one. And the Hermit. This could be different things to different people. So I'm going to give a few versions of what this, for some people, this is indicating you are not interested in love, or just in a phase where you're a little bit more tuned into you, like relationships and the heart aren't like the priorities, but you are very much so in self-love and stable and have good general relationships in life, but you're just very on your own journey, doing your thing. It's not a priority. For others of you, if you're already in a relationship or you end up in a relationship, it's still like, I still see the heart not being a top priority for you. But if you do have a relationship in your life 3 years from now, whoever you're with is absolutely stable enough to hold that space and not be bothered by you kind of needing to do your own thing. I feel a lot of support for that. Like if you are with someone, whoever that is very self-sufficient and doing big things in their own life, and so very understanding of you needing to do, focus on some things that aren't fully present to the relationship, but not in like a neglectful way. It's just like, that's the journey you're on right now, and they get it. But yeah, either way, whether you're with someone or you're not, you're just, that's not a priority, and you're just doing a lot of respecting yourself, respecting your journey, trusting yourself, finding that self-sufficiency, which we already saw. Where was it? I think it was the Ellen of the Ways thing. Coming into that, starting that new journey of self-sufficiency, and which doesn't mean you don't have someone else in your life that's supportive, but maybe there's aspects of yourself that you want to know are self-sufficient in order to be more, to feel more stable, to be present in a relationship. It's like you need to work on being self-sufficient in some way. So I do think that showing up here, repeating as like a really prominent feature in 3 years of this journey of self-sufficiency, as something that's giving you a sense of, that is about autonomy. Like maybe you do have a partner that would support you in anything and everything, and like you wouldn't have to even do anything because they're that supportive, but you're like, but I want to know I could depend on myself. I want to know I could be independent. I want to know I stand on my own 2 feet, so that when my priority shifts back to some relational stuff, it's not a like it's more equal. That's sort of what I'm feeling there. Okay, and then let's look at career or outer world responsibilities. So for some of you, that may be school, others career, others just responsibilities you hold in the world. 4 of Wands, something new and something positive, and King of Pentacles. Ooh. Well, in terms of career and finding your sovereignty, you are really stepping onto a new sense of your own solid mastery, your own ability to make a living and build a life through your efforts in the world, through what you build, either through career or other positions that you hold. Yeah, it's like a new sense, and it feels very celebratory. It feels very like a mile marker, which is interesting for something to be like new and fresh, but to step in immediately as this like master. I don't know. It's like, well, maybe it's like a promotion, or you reach this new level of like really distinct mastery, like you've won an award or something that now gives you credibility as a master, and it's something that feels more accurate, because I was like, it's weird to step newly into something and then be a master. That's not, that doesn't really align to me. That feels more accurate. Maybe you've been working really hard at something, and now you've gotten a certain new sort of recognition that gives you a new sort of status that you have earned, that is yours, like you deserve it, and it is to be celebrated. So in terms of self-sufficiency, career is doing great. Everything's doing great. I think it's just your sense of self is still, to me, it maybe feels like just being that thought leader. That leader in being a free thinker is like where you're needing to be able to really hold your own kind of thing. And that's like where there's a little bit of anxiety and a little bit of like needing to figure out how to be more sovereign in that, more confident in yourself in that. Which is a little bit of a block in prioritizing relationships. So I don't see that negatively impacting relationships. Yeah. Okay. All right. To end, we are going to get a message from your future self's body, mind, and soul, just to get a feel for those things 3 years from now. So first, we're going to get a message from your future self's body. Something comes out, Buffalo. I think you're going to be feeling very grounded, very stable, which is giving you like a channel. Like paradoxically, a lot of times we talk about like, oh, live high vibe, be high, be in a higher vibration. But we don't always talk about how the higher the vibration, the deeper the grounding we need in order to bring that vibration into our reality. And this is showing you're doing that well. You're living at a much higher vibration, and you're able to sustain that and keep growing in that because you're grounding really, really well. So you're taking this shift of paradigm, which to me feels like a higher vibration of being, and really manifesting it into your world. And that's where I'm getting that sense that your whole, what's orbiting you, the whole world you're living in is changing because you know how to ground this new paradigm into your life, anchor it into your life. So your body is feeling very anchored and very fed with higher vibration, but enough grounding to hold it. So really positive energy there in your body. Strong too. I feel like doing some physical things that like strength training, things that really ground you and make you feel strong would be positive for you over the next 3 years to really embody this buffalo. Okay, let's get a message from your future self's mind. The explorer. Yeah, I definitely sense that you're exploring new concepts, you're exploring new ways of thinking, your eyes are really opening through the way you are questioning, adventuring, pushing your mind to think in different ways, to be more free. So your mind is in a very exploratory phase 3 years from now. Okay, a message from your spirit. Well, I have, 3 that turned over. I mean, it makes sense. This is a very energetic reading. So woodpecker, use your discernment and fortitude to achieve your goals and find a new rhythm. Yeah, that makes sense. Kingfisher, prosperity is flowing. Have faith that you will receive it in the perfect form. We see you stepping into some new achievement, and we saw that 4-leaf clover, the good fortune. So it does indicate, I think financially 3 years from now, things are flowing and flourishing for you. And then goose, your dreams and desires are calling you to action. The journey begins today. Yeah, this 3 years from now, your spirit that's confirming that like you're right at that bottleneck point. You're in the funnel now. 3 years from now, you're going to be in that liminal space in the bottleneck. And it's saying the journey begins today. So you enter into the bottle, which to me is like the new paradigm, like exactly 3 years from now. You can put that in your calendar, 3 years from when you see this, and see, you know, if your calendar is still, if you don't like move to a whole new calendar and not transfer events in your calendar, all of a sudden 3 years from now, see if this resonates. You may even like put 3 years from the, you know, go into your calendar 3 years from now, put this message, and then put a link to this reading in the pile 3, and rewatch it and see, you know, because by then you would have probably forgotten all of this. But I think it'd be interesting because it's like today. So 3 years from now, today, the new journey, the new paradigm, really, you enter it. Yeah, very cool. Okay, this is where I'm going to leave you guys. I hope this resonated. If so, I always appreciate support with likes, shares, subscribes. Always grateful for kind and thoughtful comments. Also, if you are interested in astrology, there's a link in my bio or in my descriptions to a monthly astrology newsletter that I put out. Astrology is my first and foremost love in mysticism. I've done it for like 25 years. So go sign up for the free one. There's also a paid version where you get extra stuff, but you know, the free one everyone can enjoy, and get a monthly kind of scope on the astrology each month. And yeah, join me in that if you would like. All right. I hope you guys have a beautiful day wherever and whenever you are. And I will see you in future readings. Hello, Pile 4. Welcome to your reading. Oh, I forgot to light the candle. All about a message, or messages, I should say, from your future self 3 years from now. Maybe it's burned out. Well, we'll see how long it goes. It doesn't matter. So you guys picked Pile 4 with Master Hilarion. And just diving into your reading, we are going to use this card to show sort of a baseline general vibe of your future self 3 years from now, what it wants to tell you about kind of where it is, what it's going through. And this card is indicating that you have, over the past 3 years, gone through a lot of new learning processes. You've really expanded your mind. You've learned a lot of new beautiful spiritual and knowledge-based information. You've maybe incorporated new esoteric understandings, spiritual understandings, scientific understandings, things that have really elevated and mastered your mind in really beautiful ways. But at some point along this path, you kind of hit this input wall where it's like too much. I need time to integrate. And I think it's a little bit before the 3 years. It may even be 2 years from now. But at the 3-year point, where you are at is starting to really feel all of this stuff assimilate and integrate within you. I think you will have had experiences that allow you to see this new, the new information and learning and things you've acquired in action and experience, which has then helped you to further assimilate and integrate these new learnings. But especially coming into this place of knowing how to really tend to your mind, to let things marinate, let things process. And 3 years from now, you're now at this place where things are feeling very clear, bright, calm, peaceful, and you've done some work on knowing how to really keep your mind peaceful. So you're mental state is very clear and very calm 3 years from now. I can't say that the journey to get there, that it will be clear and calm. I think there will be a lot of ramp up in mental energy, which I think will exhaust you at some point. But 3 years from now, you will have integrated, assimilated, have had experiences that help to integrate those things, and then have really learned how to tend to your mind, how to calm it, how to make it peaceful, which then allows all that new stuff to be more clear, more concise, more vibrationally resonant in the world too, because it's coming from this just like wise, clear purity. That's where I feel you're at in 3 years from now, which is actually just really impressive. So if you're not already, I feel very soon you're diving, maybe into school, or maybe into just like a path of new study of some sort. But I feel like a whole new package of not just information, not just like, this isn't the kind of stuff of like, oh, I went to school and I got an economy degree or a degree in economics or something. This is like higher, more spiritual wisdom, beautiful based kind of, frameworks for life, frameworks for thinking, philosophy. It feels kind of philosophical in tone to me. It doesn't have to be hard philosophy, but spiritual practices, spiritual philosophies. You may be about to already just starting or about to really dive into things like this. Yeah, it feels very beautiful. I mean, it's a learning curve, and I think there's going to be overwhelm at points, but this is like the image, just this image of this person. They look very calm and clear and wise, right? And so that's your target, to keep you on track. This is how you want to feel in 3 years. This is how you're going to feel in 3 years, which is just like, I don't know, it feels like this huge level up for some reason. I guess each of you, that will depend on where you're coming from, but I just get this message like a huge level up from wherever you are, in terms of like having a wise philosophy that allows you to use your mind in really compassionate and beautiful and clear, pure ways. Yeah. Okay, we are going to also get the Wild Unknown Archetype card for a little more context about this. Ooh. Well, too many came out. I'm trying to decide. I feel like the Mirror came first, but the Sustainer also was like prevalent. I guess we're going to take both. All right. Sustainer and Mirror. Yeah, I mean, you are, to me, this feels sort of like, see how we should do this. I guess like this. I think from point now, whenever you come to this reading, because it's timeless, whenever you see this to that 3-year point is like a marathon. And so this is also saying like, this feels like guidance from your future self. Like you need to know this because I know the future. You already told me this, and so now I'm supposed to tell you this, if that makes sense. This is a marathon. It's not a sprint. Pace yourself is what it's saying. Don't feel like you have to absorb everything all at once. Absorb things in a way that feels paced correctly to you, for you to be able to hold, integrate, remember, hence then experience, like you really have to absorb this stuff. And so go slow. Don't push yourself at a speed where you're just going to kind of forget things and half-assed learn things. Like, this is a marathon. Take it easy. There's no rush. There's no rush. You will feel like this in 3 years. Take it easy though. And then the mirror, I think the new things you're learning, the new wisdom you're coming into, and the new clarity of mind you will gain, there's going to be a lot of process in that learning that is going to reflect things about you that you haven't really clearly seen about yourself before, which then helps you to clarify seeing yourself very accurately, right? It doesn't quite feel like shadow work. It just feels like edges, like the periphery of things aren't always in focus for us, and you're getting like a much better reflection of these peripheries that maybe you sense but don't have a firm grasp of. But because of whatever learning journey, I feel like you're either already starting or about to jump into, just so much mirroring is going to, that kind of information is really going to help mirror. And yeah, just like you're really going to get a much better, clearer perception of who you are. And doesn't this person just feel like they're so clear about who they are? Clear about their reality, their real self? They just feel completely self-actualized and self-aware and integrated, right? So that's, yeah, but I think from where you are right now, there's still a lot of work needed on your edges for that. Yeah, very cool. Okay, we are now going to look at things that your future self wants your current self to know right now. And this has come out wildly differently for each pile, so we'll just see what happens. Yeah, okay. Yeah, really, exactly. You are becoming, over the next 3 years, so much more clear about how all of the aspects of yourself, all of these different rings that represent different aspects of yourself, tie into the totality of yourself. And where right now, like maybe these circles aren't quite closed and the eye is halfway shut, it's like not everything, it's like you're close, like you've maybe done a lot of work on really being self-aware and seeing all the different aspects of yourself and figuring out how they all fit together. But it's like there's little puzzle places and little holes and little fuzzy spots. And but yeah, your future self wants your current self, for some reason, to know that over the next 3 years, you're coming more and more and more clear and whole in your sense of yourself. I think that's amazing. I love that message. I would like that for me. Okay, let's look at another message from your future self that it wants your current self to know. The Smith, overthinking, taking action. Yeah, I think your current self is just, again, it's like tapping into this sustainer thing, but like wording things even slightly differently. It's like, really watch out for overthinking. When you learn new things, I think maybe part of your journey in learning a lot of new information and wisdom-based kind of practice is helping to reflect to you just how easily you shift into overthinking. I think maybe you're a very bright person, but I think also maybe you come from the mind a little bit strongly versus sort of a more whole sense of self, heart, body, that whole integration. I think it's easy for you to just switch into mind control. And this is saying, like, this is something you're really going to, is really going to be mirrored to you over the next 3 years. And it wants you to know to watch for this, because that's part of your whole curriculum. It isn't just learning some new wisdoms and knowledge and spiritual systems or whatever it is. It's partially learning to have some mastery over your mind. Yeah, that feels correct. Yeah, a lot is going to be mirrored to you. And the candle just went out, so that's very important information. A lot of what this journey is about, beyond what you learn in terms of a practice or a knowledge base, is how to get control over your mind and to integrate it more into the whole system of self, heart, body, spirit. Yeah, so just watch out for the mirroring about how easily you move into overthinking. And I don't know, I think maybe part of what's allowing this to be mirrored so deeply to you is whatever you're learning is maybe not. It's more of a holistic thing that does incorporate body and spirit and soul and heart, right? And so maybe you're starting to see where you have holes and being more integral that way. But yeah, something about your future self wants your current self to be aware of this and already start to watch out for it. Okay, one more thing, but this one wanted to come out. Your future self wants your current self to be aware of or to know. Bee balm. Oh, I love that image. It's very rainbows and stars and suns and flowers and colorful person. I love this. Okay, I'm going to read from the book a little bit. I'm not going to read the whole description because it's they're long descriptions, but I want to get a general vibe of what this card is about. Okay, the patient messenger. I just love that. Okay. Bee balm is a ray of sun that will burn through the clouds. Spicy, warming, citrusy. This plant is showy and bright and bold. In the occult community, there is a word called hex. This also exists in mainstream culture, but it is usually called a judgment. We often have relationships that can feel like they cut you down, make you small, manipulate, or drain you. These are forms of hexes that people place on one another, sometimes knowingly and sometimes unknowingly. Bee balm is an ally if you find yourself on either side of this coin. I don't know. I feel like I need to read this whole thing because there's just like 2 big paragraphs. So I'll just read the second paragraph, really. Our intention and our feelings are always engaging with the world, whether we say them out loud or not. Words are small carriers of such energies. This is definitely talking about getting control of your mind, your thoughts. If you find yourself cutting others down in your mind, feeling petty, jealous, dark, or lacking in compassion, call on bee balm. Let this plant ally burn through you, sparkling and warming and releasing. These thoughts do not serve you, and they most certainly are being felt and perceived whether you want them to be or not. Decide to undo these dark knots and let them breathe. If you find yourself feeling heavy or charged, tense, anxious, it may be because you are feeling someone else's energy directed at you. Perhaps you know where this is coming from and perhaps you don't, but you do not have to carry it. Invite bee balm in and let them help release these thoughts and feelings that do not belong to you. Let them light a fire in your heart that burns so much more brightly than the braided ropes of misery that seek to hold you. This plant has big flower medicine. Let it bloom big in you. So yeah, I mean, it's just tapping again into kind of like control over your thoughts. beyond just the whole of your mind, like really awareness of your thoughts. How can you make your thoughts more loving, more stellar, more colorful, more warmer? These kinds of things, I feel like that's something your future self is wanting you to start paying more attention to currently, because it's going to be part of this mirroring and this kind of leveling up in mental mastery, meaning like knowing how to cultivate a very calm, wise mind. Part of that is seeing the overthinking. Part of that is becoming clear about yourself, and part of that is having more positive thoughts. And it wants your current self to already be engaging with these things. Beautiful. Okay, next we are going to look at your future self in 3 years, where it is at. We're going to get messages from it, of where it feels it's at in terms of hero and heroine's journey. So in terms of what it's working on around autonomy and what it's working on around individuation. So in terms of autonomy, we have the fall. So something new. You are jumping into some kind of new path 3 years from now that is directly related to finding autonomy in a new aspect of you, in a new way. And it might just be around this new sense of self that's really solidified. How do you more fully find autonomy to be that way? Self-permission, right? Like internal values and self-permission to show up and be this way. There may be some things you're still working out about that 3 years from now, and about to go into a journey to really develop new inner values and boundaries and sense of owning a beingness in this. It's a bridge, successfully overcoming a problem. The fall. Yeah, I don't know why it is. Obviously, it's 3 years from now, but I'm not getting messages from that future self of why there's still some autonomy issues for feeling comfortable being this way, like present in the world this way, receptive to life in this way. But there's something about that you're having to bridge, build a bridge. And so you're starting a journey to build a bridge for you to be able to do this. Maybe it's sort of like your sense of being is requiring you to update some values you hold. Hence, like how you are, I don't know why it keeps coming up, because I wouldn't necessarily relate this to a heroine's journey. But like the way you're making an income is like maybe not aligned here. Your self-worth, hence how your income is coming in, is like now sort of misaligned at this point. So you now have to go on a journey to build a bridge to some kind of income that's much more aligned with your new value system. But it's like internally you have to give yourself permission to fall a little, to make some mistakes, to take a big leap where you leave one way of being and try some other ways of being, which some of them won't work, but you'll find the right one, right? It's all about finding that way to build a stable bridge. And you're just starting that. So I have all confidence that like you're solid in this, but it's something about in like having that more refined, wise, calm, beautiful mind and mastery over mind. But maybe the way you're making money and how you've valued yourself internally is really shifting because of that. And so you need to, go in and do some inner work to give yourself permission to make some big shifts in aligning inner value and outer value. Interesting. Yeah. It's a little mysterious. I mean, it's a little bit clear, but a little bit, I don't know. I think it's just because there's different people here. So that's slightly different for each of you. But in some way I don't know why, that's just the message that came. It feels very related to income. Yeah, okay. Okay, let's look at individuation. Where are you in a journey with that 3 years from now? Embracing. Yeah, those are maybe related, the overcoming a problem. I actually feel for you that your journey in autonomy and journey in individuation are actually like very aligned. They're like working in tandem, which is actually very advanced. And I felt that as weird, that it was like, okay, well, you're working, there's a shift in your inner values, which is then shifting your income. And I was like, but the income, that feels more of that masculine thing. And that's why, because they're aligned. So yeah, you're working to harmonize your inner and outer journeys, which, this is brilliant, because honestly, I don't think that's possible unless you have a very, very masterful and clear sense of self and mastery over your mind, to be coming from a more holistic heart, whole being self. But in the individuation process, 3 years from now, it's like there's been a flood. But that flood is actually fertilizing the soils with new silts, and it's just this waiting for those things to recede, so then you can have these fertile grounds. And I feel like that's, it's like this new sense of self has just really flooded your external life, and it's not clear how to align that external life. But it's just a patience game. And I think you know that, because this bird is so patient. It's sort of like knows. It's like, I just have to wait for the floods to recede. There is very fertile, this is creating very fertile soils. It knows, and it's just patient. It's like, what will life look like when this recedes? Because I'm a very different being. And so now I need to really align what's happening externally and internally in my world. But it's hard to see how that's going to look until this flood recedes, of this new sense of being, of really starting to get clear and letting that integrate, and letting that then show up as new impulses and new sense of being present in life, right? So it's like 3 years from now, it's still like you've come into this, but it's still settling. It's still sort of integrating. Like it's there. There's nothing you have to do, but just let it marinate a bit. And then you will feel when there's like these new impulses in you. A period of ill health, depression. Interesting. Yeah, I mean, when we completely sort of shift our energetics, which is what I feel like is happening here, even though it's coming more integrated and whole, It's always, and I've seen this in almost not every reading, but a lot of the readings in this, or a lot of the piles in this reading is like, when we go through big upgrades and big shifts, it is a destabilizing thing. And I think what this is indicating is your body may be shutting off a little so you don't keep pushing yourself, so that you don't go back to old habits of overthinking or letting your thoughts run away and skew more moody. I think your body will shut down a little bit in order to give you the time and space you need, because you need to find patience for this new sense of self really congealing. That's a process and patience, and I think your body is just going to shut off a little bit. But as soon as you kind of come out, it'll be just like this, we have the ebbs and flows of life, and it will just be sort of a bigger dip. But I think you have a sense, like I still look at this bird and I look at the girl at the fall. It's like she chooses to fall, and this bird knows it's a waiting game. And so I think you have this like intuitive understanding that if you get sick, it's just your body helping you to chill out and let things marinate and let things congeal, and be patient for those new impulses to arrive, that new sense of being to kind of wake up into this new world. And once that happens, it's like all of a sudden everything around you is going to change. How you're making money, how you are surrounding yourself, your communities, how you show up, how you're present to life. It gets all shifting, and it's like it's a process to build a bridge from one version of self to this. It's like 2.0 you, right? But that 2.0 you is still you. It's just more complete, and it's been mirrored had a lot of mirroring done to itself to really see everything very clearly about the self. But it doesn't mean that all of a sudden you see that and then it's just easy and everything makes sense. It's like those things have to integrate on like a cellular level. This is like a cellular level integration of like really coming into a whole systemic and holistic understanding of yourself and yourself in the current world as well. Whew, okay, I feel it. I want to turn my brain off now. This was a lot, you guys, and I'm not even done. But it was like, yeah, you do have a very strong mind, you guys. I felt that. I got you. And I get why your body might be like, yeah, I'm just going to shut off for a minute. I need you to not for a minute. I don't see this as like disease or a full year of ill health. It's like, something that takes you out for like a month, right? That's what it feels like. Or like a lot of weeks. Let's roll a dice for you. How long will that kind of down slope be? And it may not even be like ill health. It might be more depression and a little bit of, like a flu that then lands you into some depression, and then it's hard to pull yourself out, but it's really your body just trying to turn you off so that the update can happen. Let's get some weeks. How long will this be? 5 weeks. So yeah, I was feeling that about a month. Okay, we are now going to get cards. Oh my gosh. Yeah, my mental energy just got expended there. I feel like I'm in your current mental energy, not this future version of you mental energy. But I'm now really going into future you. So I'm going to see if that, like, my mind changes a bit. Or if that mental energy shifts. Okay, we're going to look at the 4 cardinal directions of your life for 3 years from now. So channeling your future self 3 years from now and what it wants to communicate about your 4 cardinal directions. So the first one is around your sense of self, which is very important in this reading. What's motivating you? What is your energy? And I did just feel a very strong calm come on. Yeah, new. You're seeing everything fresh and new and clear and magnified and beautiful and luscious. And King of Cups, you are much more integrated into your heart. It's like, it does. I mean, King of Cups and this Master Hilarion feel very, very mirroring of each other. So this is just confirmation of this is how you feel. This is your energy 3 years from now. But also just that clarity of mind and new potential and life feeling very different and new and fresh. And the lens you have is this very compassionate, wise, masterful, whole energy. Really gorgeous. Okay, let's look now. And I felt this calm come over me. I think the shift of where your mind is now versus where it is in 3 years is real nice. Okay, foundations. So like home, family, security, King of Wands. So things are very good in your foundations. Very stable, very strong, very passionate too. And another King of Cups. This card, or this deck, has 2 versions of the king for every suit. They have sort of a more female represented and a more male represented. You have 2 kings in your foundation. Cups again, just, I mean, this was already confirmation for me about Master Hilarion, but this is showing that you could turn this view into a female just as easily as a male. And that to me is indicating that you will feel both aspects of yourself, the yin and the yang, as this, not just, I mean, which makes sense because it's like this holistic version, but this image does give a representation of more of that masculine side. And I think this is indicating that, like, it just wants to say, like, you know, we've been talking holistically. So just a reminder that that also includes the feminine. And your feminine will feel very masterfully compassionate, grounded, coming from the heart, as will your masculine. So the way you assert and the way you nurture are both very, very integrated, strong, compassionate, clear, beautiful. But down in your roots, there's also some passion. You're making things happen. You're maybe building. You could be building things, building a new home or something. Because these are very solid foundations, and I feel like kings are builders. So you may be building or expanding your roots and foundations, which is nice to see because the thing about income came up, and I was like, ugh, I hope this doesn't put them onto this weird bohemian path where they don't quite know how to fit into the world financially. And this is, even though the foundation isn't necessarily job, it does show your sense of security. And you can't, you know, build a new home or strengthen your roots without some kind of financial security. So this is indicating like you are on very firm ground. So that's nice to see. Okay, let's look at love and relationships. 5 of Wands. Interesting. And Knight of Wands. Okay, so there is romantic energy here with the Knight of Wands. That is kind of the Prince Charming or Princess Charming, whatever makes sense to you, or They Charming, whatever your preference is. This feels like the other person to me. This doesn't feel like your energy in 3 years. There is a princess, they charming present in your life in 3 years. I don't know if it's, if you're already with someone, if this ends up being their energy, or if this is someone new that comes in, if you're single. But there is a presence there of romance, heightened romance. My sense is, though, this could be one of those places where you're waiting for that new impulse and instinct in your new version of self to wake up and kind of turn on in life. I do feel like relationships might be a little confusing, which makes me feel like either you're already with someone and they don't necessarily go through the same kind of update and new wisdom curriculum that you go through, and now you're just finding it hard to know who you are with them. Or if you're single, it's like you have changed, but the types of people you date and the way you date, you're still struggling to figure out what that means now. But either way, it's sort of like you're something hasn't quite congealed about that new mastery of self in terms of how you relate with others. But I still think, my thought is you shouldn't get too hung up on it. You're just going to show up that way, and don't stress about, am I showing up that way? Am I picking the people that would resonate with this? You attract the people who are going to resonate. You attract things that are like your energy. So this is one place where I'm feeling your future self is a little confused, but from my kind of detached perspective, it's like, if I could tell your future self to relax about how you're feeling in your relationships, just be you, because it's very attractive to whoever's showing up right now. They're feeling very turned on by the new you. Whether it's a new person or someone you're already with, they're very energized by it. So even if they haven't quite updated themselves, they're very attracted to it, which means they would be attracted to updating themselves, and they could be kind of swallowed into your energy field and sort of naturally, organically fall into this kind of work where they really kind of upgrade the systems they use to think, and spirituality, and gaining some more mastery over their mind, and philosophies that help them have a certain wise outlook on life. It's funny, but I guess the communication here is your future self is a little unsure about how to show up in relationships, but there's nothing to worry about. It's really attractive to other people. Okay, last, let's look at career. For some of you, maybe that's school, whatever you're doing in the outer world that holds a lot of sort of responsibility. You guys, you have another king. What is going on? King of Swords. And this one, 10 of Pentacles. Things are going very well for you in career or school. Your mastery of mind is showing up in career, how you present yourself in the world. You're very confident and sure of presenting this new you in a professional sphere. And by doing so, you're really creating a flow of community and material and economy, and you're a real center, you're a real force, you're a real central hub of commerce and community and activity, and in a professional way. And it's very financially stable there, very financially flourishing. So it's interesting about this income thing that came up, because I see you as very grounded. It might just be that, like, maybe what you're doing, you know, you're masterful at, but it like doesn't quite match who you've become. So those journeys may be suggesting that you might have to take a fall off of being this kind of person in the world to redo things. But one thing I've learned is, like, if you've known how to hold a certain level of responsibility and structure and mastery in one way, you can do it again. So it's like, again, I feel like I'm wanting to give advice to your future self, which is funny, but like maybe you can write some of these down in 3 years in your calendar or something for some advice. Is like, take the leap though. If you're having an impulse to do something very different from what you're doing 3 years from now, but it's scary to change because you're sitting atop of the field that you're in, and it would be like starting over. It isn't starting over. You're just realigning what it is that generates the income, but you're still going to step into that very masterfully and able to make things flow and flourish. So take the fall, take some stumbles, make some mistakes, and build that bridge. Like, exactly, it's building a bridge. This all feels related to your career or income. It's like building a bridge. I think you're on stable ground. I think a lot of you are already doing well, so this may be some good advice for now, like start a savings, you know, create some savings that's more liquid, especially if you're someone that has like investments and, you know, maybe you have assets, but they're not liquid, so you couldn't just live on those as you started something new. But if someone were to tell you in 3 years you're going to start over and do something totally different and new, you may start, you know, a little piggy bank on the side that's sort of like some income that you can give yourself for a year or two to take a leap, to take a fall, to make some mistakes and do something different. So I think maybe that's, even though I'm planning to give your future self advice, the future is like talking back to me. I'm like, no, give the current self advice about this, that they need to start a piggy bank for me now, a little side fund for me now that's liquid income for me in 3 years. That's what it feels like. And if you're someone that's like not making a great income right now, you will be in 3 years. So as soon as you start generating like that extra, start a savings, because I think you're going to want to make a pretty big shift in career. But no doubt you'll land back on top in whatever you do, but you'll go through a couple of stumbles first. So you will need a little bit of savings to hold you for, you know, for like a year or so, to be able to explore. Yeah, very cool. But from what I see here at that 3-year mark, that shouldn't be a problem. Like, trust yourself. You've got it. If you can be a master in one way, you can be a master in another way, professionally speaking, income speaking. So just follow through and really cultivate a life that matches how you've cultivated who you are. And that may, for a lot of you, mean shifting how you're making an income. Okay, to end. Oh, you guys got the longest reading. We're already at 47 minutes. Okay, to end, we are going to get a message from your body, mind, and then soul, and then spirit, from your 3 year from now version of self. So message from body is unicorn. Yes, your mind has become magical, clear, foresightful, intuitive, really, really on point, but like in a beautiful, magical way. And so your body, I know this is sort of talking about mind for the body card, but I think this is indicating that the way your mind is holding itself is in a way where your body still feels good. You're not like when you overthink and you're so in your head, it's like your body gets tense and wound up. And this is saying you're holding that masterful mind in such a way that your body isn't wound up with it. It's very calm and clear to match that calm and clear mind. So that's really beautiful to see, which also gives some beautiful insight to that illness thing or depression thing that came up. I do think that's a blip. I think it's just your body kind of being like chill. I don't think it's something serious, right? It's like a flu and then a little bit just down for a bit. And then mind, the magi, dimensional, really being able to see in very dimensional ways, really being able to see in paradoxical ways, dimensional ways, into other realms, into all the different aspects. Like it's a very, your mind, I mean, I already sensed your mind is already just naturally quite strong, but you're really gaining a control over it. And so you're really knowing, it almost feels scattered at the moment compared to how your future self's mind feels. Is like you're smart, but like your mind is very alive and fertile and on and brilliant, but it's sort of like, because it can see in so many dimensions, sometimes it has a hard time not getting confused. But the future version of yourself is going to know much more clearly how to bring cohesion to that and how to see the what's the focal point, and then organize things off of that, and like just much more calm and clear and organized in its still very dimensional, paradoxical, genius capabilities. Just like knowing how to get a hold of that, to use it. And then spirit, new rhythms are coming into your life now. You are encouraged to trust and adapt. Yeah, exactly. Trust, adapt, but give yourself some downtime to do that, to feel the new rhythms, to allow the new impulses to come up naturally. So definitely a very different version of yourself with very different rhythms, very different impulses, very different sense of being, really clear, really calm, really coherent, really clear about self. It's beautiful. It's a really beautiful future version of you, especially for the energy I currently feel in you guys. It's like, yes, so amazing, such amazing work. It's like what you've always wanted your mind to feel like, and hence your life and your body and your spirit. Everything is just really solidifying and clarifying. It's beautiful. Okay, this is where I'm going to leave you guys. If this resonated and was insightful, I always appreciate support with likes and shares and subscribes. Always grateful for kind and thoughtful comments as well. If you enjoy astrology, which is my main thing I love doing, it's something I've done for 25 years, I put out a free monthly newsletter that goes over the astrology of the month. I will put a link to subscribe to that newsletter in the descriptions. There's also a paid version where you get more things throughout the month. But check out at least that free monthly newsletter and get a little bit of astro insight for month ahead. And I hope to see you on that newsletter. And have a beautiful day wherever and whenever you are. And I will see you in future readings.